All right, this is Miss Reinhardt, and today we're going to get started with our elementary book, Lark Holds the Key. This is by Natasha Dean and illustrated by Marcus Cutler. I've never read this book before, so I'm pretty excited to get started. It has 14 chapters. We'll see how many, depending on how time goes, we get done in a day. Maybe this will take us 2 days, maybe it will take us 3 days to finish this book. Let's get started. Lark Holds the Key. Chapter 1. My name is Lark Ba, and I have ants in my pants. Not really. That would be gross, and not so much fun for the ants. Ants in my pants means it's hard for me to sit quietly. It's something my Homani, that's Korean for grandmother, says when I'm really excited. Only I wasn't sitting. I was lying down in bed, waiting, patient-like, until... Psst! Connor! I leaned over and looked at the bottom bunk. Connor, are you awake? Connor's my little brother. He's much younger than me. Yes, I'm awake. Are you? Yes. If I was sleeping, I wouldn't be talking, would I? Yes, you would. You talk a lot. I ignored that. Are you excited? Yes, today's going to be awesome. It's going to be the bestest day ever. Lark, you say that every day. Anyway, bestest isn't a word. It should be. It's a great word. I love words. Maybe I should be a writer when I grow up. Then I could make up great words like bestest. I turned on the lamp and said, Yep, I'm going to be a writer. Then I'm going to make bestest a word. Lark, gonna isn't a word either. Anyway, I thought you were going to be an actor. I think I'll be both. That way I can write the stories I want to act in. Connor rolled his eyes. I decided to be patient because he was just little. I climbed down from the top bunk. Today was the 3rd day of summer vacation. On the first day, Connor and I started a circus. We tried to teach our dog Max how to dance. He wasn't so good at that. And we broke 2 lamps. Mom said we had to do something else, something that didn't include Max or her lamps. Yesterday we tried to do a people-only circus with our friends Kate and Franklin. No lamps were broken, but Franklin tried to do a special jump. He jumped great, but he also made a hole in the wall with his head. Dad said no more circuses. He used his grumpy voice. And that's when Halmani suggested we all go to the library instead. Only Halmani didn't call it a library. She called it the Temple of Secrets. She said books contain secrets between their pages, and when you read a book, you could find all kinds of treasure. I'm going to get 50 books, I told Connor. I'm going to get 100. Do you think Mom and Dad will remember to take us? I nodded. Yes, I put a note on the fridge, and in the bathroom, and in their shoes, and in their coat pockets. I would have put one in their car, too. But Babu, that's Swahili for grandfather, told me a long time ago that I wasn't supposed to be in the car without a grown-up. Are you sure they won't forget? Connor looked worried. I knew because his forehead went all squiggly. What if they don't wake up in time? Little brothers are so much work. If you're worried, let's go check. I'm not worried, but the last time we woke them up. I say we should go. It shows we have... I couldn't remember the word. It started with an N, or maybe an I, and it was a good word. It shows we care. I'm your big sister, and that's my decision. You are not older. Yes, I am. We're twins. I'm the older one. He made a growly noise. Only by 10 minutes. Still, older. I gave him my best big sister look. Are you going to come with me, or are you too scared? Chapter 2. We went quiet-like to Mom and Dad's room. Connor put his ear to the door. His face went all wrinkled. Dad's snoring. I think they forgot about the library. Let's wake them. He did a little walk backward. What a fraidy cat. But I'm a good big sister, so I didn't say anything. There's nothing to be scared of. Okay, I almost didn't say anything. Let's go. I pushed open the door and went inside. The blankets went up and down, with Dad snoring and Mom's breathing. I went up real close to Dad. His eyes were shut tight. I leaned in to make sure. Dad. Dad. I whispered softly because Halmani said it wasn't nice to wake people up loudly. I tapped him on the forehead. He kept snoring. Connor tugged on my shirt. I don't know about this. It's fine. I tapped harder. Dad kept snoring. Now I was really worried. What if they didn't wake up? I didn't want to be late. Gentle-like, I put my finger on Dad's eyelid and lifted. Dad? Ah! He screamed. Ah! Connor screamed. Ah! Mom screamed the loudest and jumped out of bed. Lark! Dad was using his grumpy voice. What are you doing? Making sure you're awake. We have to go to the library. Mom looked real hard at the clock. Then she crawled back into bed. Honey, it's 5 in the morning. The library doesn't open until 10. I did the math. That's 5 hours away. Yes. Dad was back to using the dad voice I liked. Do you know what that means? I thought hard. We have time for French toast? Chapter 3. Hamani had heard the screaming. She took us from Mom and Dad's room to the kitchen. Can we have French toast? I asked. If you help, she said. Hamani is Dad's mom. Babu is Mom's dad. If he had been here, he would have made us uji. That's porridge. But he was in Kenya, counting elephants. I'd wanted to go with him, but he'd said I would scare the elephants. He laughed when he said it, so I knew he was joking. I love Halmani and Babu. They never use their grumpy voices with me, or with Connor. That's amazing, because he can be really annoying. I'll help make French toast. Me too, said Connor. He pulled a chair to the counter. Halmani gave me a piece of paper. That's the recipe. You read it. Connor and I will do what it says. Did you hear that, Connor? You have to do what I say. I leaned in and whispered, because I'm older. He did the growly voice thing. And get your special paper, called Halmani. I have dyslexia, dyslexia. It means my brain works differently when I have to read letters and numbers. I went to my school drawer and took out one of my see-through colored pieces of paper. Then I put it on top of the white paper Halmani gave me. It made the letters and numbers stop jumping on the page, and that made the words easier to read. I told Halmani and Connor what to do. Pretty soon we had lots of yummy French toast. Connor ate a bunch. I only wanted 2 pieces, but they tasted really good, so then I had 2 more. Maybe one more, I told Hermione. I didn't know I was such a good cook. Okay, so I have something funny to tell you about French toast. What do you eat on your French toast? A lot of people eat powdered sugar. A lot of people eat syrup. Some people even put jam on their powdered toast, on their French toast. But the way I learned it was with melty butter and brown sugar. So the brown sugar is all melty on it. And I used to get teased all the time for using brown sugar on my French toast when I was a kid. But my whole family eats it that way. That is the way we like it the best. And if you haven't tried it, don't knock it. When we finished eating, we cleaned up. Then I double-checked that I had my library card. I checked for my cloth bag to carry home the books, and I triple-checked Connor's stuff. Soon, we'd be at the library. Chapter 4. Dad wanted to come with us, but he had to work at the aquarium. So Hermione, Mom, Connor, Max, and I walked to the library. On the way to the library were the tailor shop, the baseball field, the park, and my favorite place, the ice cream shop. I tried to tell Mom we should get some ice cream. She said it was too early. Besides, Lark, it's not even hot out yet. But it will be, I told her, and eating ahead is just good planning. Mom made a weird sound in the back of her throat. Hermione got the coughs and turned her face away. I think Hermione was actually laughing. We kept walking. Soon I could see the roof of the library. It was one of the places I liked best. There were lots of windows and cozy places to sit. There was a fireplace in the library. In the winter, I love sitting by it and reading my books. I'm going to get books on astronauts and the guys who get to study stars, said Connor. I'm going to get books on real detectives, I said. I wonder if that was the end of that chapter. Let's see. All right, stay tuned for a moment here. All right, we're back. Detectives? His face went scrunchy. Why? I thought you wanted to be a writer or an actor. Guess that's the other way around, isn't it? An actor or a writer. I do. I'm going to be a great actor and a great writer, and that means reading as many stories as I can. That way, I can learn everything about everything. I kind of already know everything. Connor snorted. But I'll know more of everything. It'll make me a great actor and writer. Connor nodded. That's a good idea. I should probably get some books on fixing rocket ships, too. I'm going to be the first person on Jupiter. I should know how to fix something if it breaks. See? It's good to have a big sister, isn't it? Aren't I a good teacher? He heaved a sigh and rolled his eyes. Twins, Lark. We're twins. I sighed too. Little brothers can be so much work. I decided to ignore him and think of the books I was going to get. Detective stories. I like them a lot because there's a problem to solve. I'm an excellent problem solver. I know because I solve Connor all the time, and he's a huge problem. Plus, on the last day of school, Principal Robinson read us a story about a detective. In the book, the detective called himself a PI, which means private investigator. I like that name, even though it took me a long time to learn how to spell it. My name would look great with initials. Lark Ba PI. Plusser. Investigator sounds like alligator, and I like them a lot. The PI did this cool thing where he talked, but his lips didn't move. I could do that too, almost. And plussest, he got to wear a great trench coat, cool trench coat, and even cooler hat. I look great in hats. Why do you think great is italicized there? And hopefully you recognize that word. Why is plussest and on the previous page plusser italicized? Have you ever heard the word plussest or plusser? Principal Robinson said that detective stories were great because they were full of deeds of daring do. I didn't know what that meant, but it sounded amazing. At dinner, I told Mom and Dad I was going to do daring do's. Dad said that would be a huge change because I'm usually full of daring don'ts. All the grown-ups laughed, but I didn't get the joke. Still, I laughed so they didn't feel bad. Goodness, all this thinking was making me hungry and excited. I really wanted to get to the library, like now. We turned the corner for the library and I saw the doors. I also saw something else, and I didn't like it one bit. Nope, nope, nope. Chapter 5. The librarian, Mrs. Robinson, was married to our school principal. Normally we found her busily shelving books or helping people at the checkout counter. Today she was sitting outside on one of the benches. Well, not really sitting. She looked like one of my birthday balloons when they start leaking. Mrs. Robinson saw us and gave a sad wave. Mrs. Robinson, what happened? Asked Connor. How come the library isn't open? I lost the key to the library. Holy crickets! This was pretty big. No wonder she sniffled and snuffled. Connor lost our house key one time. Dad used his really grumpy voice when he found out. I climbed onto the seat next to her. Don't worry, Miss Robinson. Connor loses stuff all the time. Hey, said Connor, so do you. He turned to the librarian. Lark's lost her mittens and her sweater, and one time Mom said Lark had lost her mind. He scrunched his mouth, but I'm not sure how she knew that. Mom made a gurgling sound. Hermione coughed. I glared at Connor. Then I gave Mrs. Robinson a smile. Smiling always makes people feel better. When Connor lost his key, it was okay because I had mine. Does anyone else have a key? She shook her head sadly. No. Well, yes. Millie, the assistant librarian, has one, said Mrs. Robinson. But she's on vacation. This doesn't seem like very good planning, I told her. Next time, Millie should maybe give her key to someone else, someone who's responsible and stuff. I thought about it. She should give it to me. I never lose stuff. Connor laughed. She should give it to us, I said. We hardly ever lose stuff. Connor smiled and nodded. Mom put her hand on her forehead and looked at the sky. Mrs. Robinson gave me a shaky smile. I'll tell her that. What about Pete? Asked Mom. Can't he help? Pete was I don't know the name, but he got to break into people's cars and houses. Plus, he never got arrested. Plus, sir, he got to drive in a really cool truck. I phoned, said Mrs. Robinson. He's out at the Andersons' farm, putting new locks on the house. He could be gone until this afternoon. This was a big problem. The library couldn't stay closed for that long. people would be upset with Mrs. Robinson, and I didn't like that. She was a nice lady. When I lose something, I close my eyes. I try to remember what I was doing when I lost the thing I lost. Mrs. Robinson smiled back. That's a good idea, Lark. That's what I was doing when you arrived, but I just can't think of where I lost it. Maybe you should tell us where you've been, I said, and we can help. She nodded. I decided to walk to work today because it was such a lovely day. Mrs. Robinson started talking about the sunshine and the birds. Then she said something about cleaning. At least I think she was talking about cleaning. She said something about waxing, nostalgic. I didn't know what that meant, but both Mom and Halmani nodded. So I did too. Nostalgic. Thinking back on good times. Connor frowned and opened his mouth. I elbowed him. He pressed his lips together and nodded at Mrs. Robinson. The librarian stopped talking about cleaning and started to talk about books. I started this great book last night, she said. It was hard to put down. I woke up early just so I could keep reading. I know how you feel, I said. The last book Principal Robinson read us was a mystery. It was very exciting. I thought about what the PI would do. He'd want more information. In the book, he was always saying, "Just the facts, ma'am." So I did too, but nicely. What happened next? I left home, said Mrs. Robinson. I had my book in one hand, I had the library key in the other, plus I had my purse. I nodded. Go on, said Connor. What happened next? Well, it was such a nice day, and I was so early, I stopped at the park. I sat on a bench and kept reading. I was at this very exciting part in the book when I heard yelling. I looked up. There was Sophie McAllister and her friends. They were trying to fly a kite. Fly a kite? Connor's face went all wrinkly. But there's no wind, I said. Connor snorted. Sophie's so full of hot air, she doesn't need wind. Ooh, that wasn't very nice. I glared at him. Let's look at the picture first here. There we go. I glared at him. Maybe it was a special kind of kite, I said. He shook his head. I don't think so. Anyway, Sophie and her friends are always up to no good. I bet they were doing something they shouldn't. Sophie did get into trouble an awful lot. She was in the same grade as Connor and me. Sophie spent a lot of time with the teachers and the principal and writing apology notes. So which one here do you think is Sophie? Obviously not him, but it could be her or it could be her. What do you think? I think it's her. Mrs. Robinson thought about what Connor had said. No, they were definitely trying to fly a kite. Why were they yelling? I asked. Sophie and her friends were fighting about something. I went over to see why. Connor and I waited to see what she would say next. You were right about the wind, Mrs. Robinson said to Connor. There wasn't any, and that meant they couldn't fly their kite. Sophie thought one of them should take the kite and climb a tree and jump out of it, Mrs. Robinson continued. I don't think that's such a good idea. What do you think? We may be having a problem again for a minute, so hold on a second. I'll get this fixed. Maybe that would get it to fly, but I stopped them right away. That was a dangerous idea. Someone could get hurt. Mrs. Robinson let out a big sigh that made her shoulders go up and down. By the time I was done, it was time to go to work. I walked here. That's when I realized I'd lost my key. My heart was doing a pitter-patter. Mrs. Robinson's story was just like the one in the book our principal had read. There was a mystery to solve. There were clues to find. I, Lark, was going to solve it. I was going to be a PI. Today really was going to be the bestest day ever. Chapter 6. Mrs. Robinson, I said, you have a mystery on your hands, and I'm going to solve it. Connor stepped on my toe. We're going to solve it. How do you plan on doing that? Asked Mom. First thing we need to do is go to the scene of the crime. Connor yanked on my sleeve. But there's no crime. There's only a missing key. I know that. Brothers. They're such work. But all PIs say that to start a case. Oh, Connor nodded. Okay. I can't go, said Mrs. Robinson. I have to wait for the locksmith. Yes! Locksmith! That was the word for what Pete did. He opened locked doors. Because it was his job, he never got arrested. That was a pretty great kind of job. Maybe I should be a locksmith when I grow up. Then I could open the lock on Connor's treasure chest, and I wouldn't get into trouble because it was my job. There seems to be a little problem with Lark's logic there, that she wouldn't get into trouble for unlocking Connor's treasure chest even if it was her job. Do you see what the problem is? Mrs. Robinson nodded. Okay, Lark. What first? We should start with your bag, I said. Can we please look inside? Mrs. Robinson nodded. We took out her wallet, a pack of gum, a travel mug, a hairbrush, and her phone. But there was no key. I must have dropped it while I was walking, said Mrs. Robinson. I should have put it in my purse pocket. She looked really upset, so I patted her hand. It's okay. With me and Connor on the case, your key will be found. Promise. Lark, whispered Connor, you shouldn't make promises you can't keep. I knew he was right, but in the PI book, the detective had promised the king he'd find the treasure. He called it upping the ante. That's not really how you spell that word, but she doesn't know that yet. We have to find the key, I told Connor. I have to get more detective books, and I have to find out what upping the ante means. Plus, I need to know what happened if you up the uncle. We said goodbye to Mom and Halmani. Mrs. Robinson headed toward the park, with Connor and I close behind. I couldn't wait to solve this case. I think we can do one more chapter, so we'll read half the book today and half the book tomorrow. Chapter 7. We hadn't been walking long when Connor pulled me to the side. Lark, how are we actually going to find this key? The park is gigantic. Plus, Mrs. Robinson said she walked for 15 minutes. That key could be anywhere. Not anywhere, I said. Somewhere. Mrs. Robinson didn't walk all over the place. We just have to follow the path she took. As we walked, I kept my head down, looking for clues. I was glad the sun was out. Maybe its light would reflect off the key. I concentrated hard, really hard. I looked and kept my head down. And I walked right into a tree. Connor laughed. Crickets! I rubbed the spot on my head. That hurt. Mrs. Robinson checked the bump. Didn't you hear me yelling to stop? No, I said. I was concentrating on finding the key. Maybe we shouldn't do this, she said. Double crickets. I couldn't lose the case. No, it's fine. I glared at Connor. My brother will keep an eye on me. He snorted. With you, I better keep two. I decided I needed to ignore him because we were on a case, and because Mrs. Robinson was there. I pulled Connor close. Didn't you pay attention when the principal was reading the story? She's a client, and we have to be... I couldn't think of the word. It was a good one, though. It meant to be on your best behavior. We have to do a good job, I said. Maybe she'll tell other people and we can get more cases. More cases? His eyebrows went to his forehead. We can't even handle this one. Little brothers, just look for a key. We followed Mrs. Robinson back to her house. She showed us where she had stopped and admired the birds. She pointed out where she had waved at the lady gardening. Connor and I retraced Mrs. Robinson's every move, but no key. The library was still closed. There was no word yet from Pete. Connor looked really unhappy with me, and I was kind of wishing I'd left the auntie alone. Just before we go today, in case you were wondering how I know how to pronounce some of these words, well, most of the words that are just regular English words I know how to pronounce because I've been reading for a really, really, really long time. So I've learned hundreds of thousands, if not millions of words. But there are words in Korean in here, and Swahili, and Japanese. So to do that, what I did was I paused this video and I went and I looked up the words. For example, halmani, pronunciation, and then I played it.
Hi, my name is Sunny Park from Mahalo.com, and I'm here to teach you some Korean phrases. If you want to say grandma in Korean, you would say 할머니. 할머니. Again, 할머니.
So there we go. That's how I figured it out. And I don't say it exactly correctly. There needs to be, it sounds like more of a H-I-H-A-I-L, Halmani. And I'm saying Halmani. So that one I'll need to practice a little bit more. Halmani. All right, and I will see you tomorrow when we read chapter 8 through chapter 14. Have a good day.